in the United States.
When tackled with questions on security, the president replied by explaining how international collaboration would help Nigeria in curbing the activities of the terrorist group Boko Haram. He hinted that Nigeria is still working with the Lake-Chad Basin Commission to address security challenges in the region as well as in the Gulf of Guinea. The president addressed the matter on the return of the Chibok girls and was positive on their rescue. He was quite emphatic on how he intends to address the operations of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) and the persistent fuel scarcity in the country.
I think the best way to go about it is firstly to establish the fact of the magnitude of the inefficient way the NNPC conducted itself.
On the ministerial list, he maintained the Nigerians should expect quality leaders as ministers and also spoke on the crisis work in the National Assembly leadership and the APC.
We cannot win the battle and lose the war. We must not allow individual personal ambition to succeed in dividing us and allowing PDP to deal with us peacefully.
On the whole, the president was generally optimistic of Nigeria emerging stronger and better in spite of subsisting challenges and enjoined all Nigerians to join in efforts to fast-track the country's development. In Abuja, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari met with the Progressive Governors Forum as part of efforts to resolve the leadership crisis rocking the Senate. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the meeting held behind closed doors was a follow-up to an earlier engagement between the governors and the APC caucus of the Senate held on Sunday night.
Governor Adams, a former of Edo State, and his Kebbi State counterpart, Atiku Bagudu, who spoke to Newsman, expressed optimism that the crisis will soon be over for stability and legislation for good governance in the country.
I think the position now is, look, how do you ensure that having elected these two, that the remaining positions that are within the discussion of the APC caucus in the Senate, that those are distributed in a way as to give the other group that were shut out of the process, as to give them a sense of belonging. We are convinced that a winner take all in this case will work. Building peace is making concession. And power works better when it acknowledges that even the person who is powerless has a right to exist. I think, for me, there is light, as you say, at the end of the tunnel. One thing is clear: we are all APC family. We are all committed to change. We recognize that there are few issues that people may not be comfortable, but we have what it takes to resolve the issues so that the National Assembly will have a Senate APC caucus that is united, that is ready to support the change agenda.
What is important is to realize that the party, the caucus members of the party are desirous of evolving a solution that will bring inclusiveness so that the Senate and indeed the House will remain bodies that will serve the interests of Nigeria as promised by our party.
Governor Adams, a former who was also among President Buhari's entourage to the United States, described the visit as an eye-opener and highly beneficial to Nigeria.
Senior officials of the State Department, they said one minister, other PDP, cornered as much as $6 billion. And even by Washington standard, that is earthquaking. And America is confident that any transaction between the American government and the Nigerian government will benefit the Nigerian people. We believe that the stumbling block has been the issue of corruption. And now they have found a president they trust by reasons of his pedigree, his disposition, and his personal lifestyle. America is convinced that he has all the qualities required to fight and to defeat corruption. And when that is out of the way, then America is ready to stand by Nigeria to do what needs to be done. President Obama was emphatic that helping Nigeria to overcome some of its challenges would be helping the African continent to represent itself.
There are strong indications that the leadership crisis destabilizing operations of the House of Representatives will soon be resolved. This came to light after a meeting convened by President Buhari with the APC caucus of the House and the leadership of the governing APC on the way forward. Here again, the State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
This is the first time President Muhammadu Buhari is meeting the entire APC caucus of the House of Representatives since the inauguration of the National Assembly on the 9th of June. In attendance were both the Speaker Yakubu Dogara and Femi Bajabiamela's factions in the leadership crisis rocking the House, as well as members of the National Working Committee of the governing APC. The meeting aimed at finding amicable resolutions of the crisis lasted less than 30 minutes behind closed doors. At the end of the meeting, APC National Chairman John Odigi Oyegun, Speaker Yakubu Dogara, and other members of the House told newsmen that frank discussions were held on the way forward and commended President Muhammadu Buhari for making that happen.
Everything is upbeat. Everything. You can see us smiling. A lot was achieved in 20 minutes. So I have a feeling that in another 3-4 hours, and by tomorrow we'll have good news for the nation.
I've always been by the party. There has never been a time that I never stood firmly by the party. So like my chairman has explained, we're going to do it in consultation with the party, and I'm sure sooner than later we will have good news for Nigerians.
The president was very forthright. He dwelled extensively on party supremacy. I think we're almost at the point where all of this will be behind us.
The president came into the meeting and addressed us and told us about the need to be peaceful and orderly as party men. He also emphasized on the need for us to use our victory wisely so that Nigeria can benefit from the fact that APC has formed the government.
The president has told us to sit down with the party and agree on the way to move forward on this issue and come up with an agreeable position and report back to him today. In the interest of all of us, in the interest of Nigerians that have voted us in the interest of the success that APC has achieved in the last election.
The House resumes plenary on Tuesday, 28th of this month. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
The federal government says it will take concrete actions towards correcting the neglect of research, science and technology by past governments. President Muhammadu Buhari gave the assurance after receiving a briefing from officials of the Ministry of Science and Technology. He said more resources and energy will be dedicated to the sector because it is indispensable to national development. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Muhammadu Buhari said no country could make meaningful progress without serious commitment to the development of science and technology. He therefore promised to fully encourage the work of the Ministry of Science and Technology and ensure that innovations from research institutes are utilized towards impacting positively on industrial development and manufacturing in Nigeria. The permanent secretary in the ministry enumerated poor funding and lack of recognition on the part of successive governments of science and technology as major drivers of economic development as challenges confronting the ministry. She asked for more support and political will from the government to encourage scientific research and local manufacturing.
What we call the Asian Tigers today have dedicated serious funding to the research and development sectors of the economy. And we believe that if this is done in Nigeria, it would go a long way in getting Nigeria to be socially and economically independent.
President Buhari also received the outgoing British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Andrew Pocock, as well as the outgoing Swiss Ambassador to Nigeria, Hans Rudolf Hodel. He thanked both envoys for their efforts at strengthening relations between Nigeria and their respective countries. The former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Sridhar Ramphal, who is in Nigeria on a visit, was also received by the President.
It's a great pleasure, a great honor to be back in Abuja again, and especially at the start of a new and hopeful, very promising regime.
Mr. Ramphal expressed gratitude to Nigeria for his tremendous support to the Commonwealth during his tenure. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
The leadership of Africa National Congress ANC, the ruling party in South Africa, has expressed satisfaction over the Lagos State government's pronouncement on the coroner verdict in respect of the synagogue building collapse of 2014 in Lagos. ANC's Treasurer General Dr. Zwalini Kazevi expressed the party's position at a courtesy visit.
Speaking at the Lagos House, Alasa Ikeja, the ANC Treasurer General Dr. Zwalini Kazevi expressed appreciation to the state government for its efforts in ensuring that the South African nationals who were involved in the unfortunate incident were successfully repatriated to the country for burial.
Let me say briefly that we do appreciate this relationship, and we must say, Your Excellency, we were very pleased to learn of your decision as the state in terms of the very sad disaster that befell us of the numbers of people who had died in Nigeria in Lagos a few last year sometime. And secondly, whilst we all appreciate also all the assistance that you made to make sure that all of these individuals were repatriated back to South Africa.
Governor Ambode, while responding, reiterated his commitment to boosting trade relations with South Africa and described the visit as a brotherhood meeting.
So this is more about a political relationship between your great party and the party that is ruling Lagos presently, APC. I know that there has been some little history of relationship between ANC and APC. What this stands for this morning is to recommit ourselves to a stronger relationship. We have so much to learn from ANC because of its history. We also have so much to give because of the dynamism which we have actually brought into the Nigerian political landscape. I will say that I know that this is not going to be the end of your interaction with party leadership. Like you must have been told, we believe strongly that we need to do some inter-party visitation and relationship so that we can strengthen things.
The governor also promised to commit to the existing relationship between the All Progressives Congress (APC) and the ANC, saying both have common ideology. From Lagos, Victoria Olabode, NTA News.
The West African Examination Council (WAEC) says it may withhold results of candidates in states that are yet to pay for the registration of their sponsored candidates. Head National Office of the Council, Mr. Charles Egiridu, disclosed this at a media briefing in Lagos. Jane Ojuku has the details.
Mr. Charles Egiridu explained that the 19 affected states had approached the Council for the registration of their candidates for the May-June 2015 West African Senior School Certificate Examination with a promise to pay later. He said the affected state governments, whose debt stood at over 4 billion naira, have failed to meet their financial obligations as promised, despite a series of letters written to them.
We therefore want to publicly plead with the affected states to offset the registration fees of the candidates as soon as possible, but not later than the next 2 weeks, as we cannot guarantee that the results of their candidates for the May-June 2015 WASC will be released along with others.
He appealed to the debtor states to do the needful as their continued delay in payment is negatively affecting operations in the council.
We are finding it difficult in meeting our financial obligations, particularly to our supervisors, examiners, and service providers.
Mr. Egiridu stated that WAEC is working assiduously to ensure that the results of the May-June 2015 examination is released on schedule. On measures to check malpractices, he said WAEC has introduced e-marking, biometric capturing of candidates, and stricter invigilation, among others, to protect the integrity of WAEC certificates. In Lagos, Jane Ojuku, NTA News.
July 28th every year is set aside to mark the World Hepatitis Day, and that is our focus today on Panorama. I have with me to speak more on the day the Executive Secretary, Committee Encouraging Corporate Philanthropy, SEC, Nigeria, Dr. Abia Nzelu. You're welcome to Panorama.
Thank you very much.
Now, when we say hepatitis, what are we talking about here? What exactly is hepatitis?
Hepatitis is inflammation of the liver, and it's usually caused by some viruses, hepatitis A, B, C, D, and E. So these viruses cause inflammation of the liver, and sometimes they cause acute infection in the early stages, and if it is not taken care of, it eventually leads to chronic infection, which will now lead to liver cancer eventually. So the focus of what hepatitis do is to create awareness, because hepatitis is preventable, entirely preventable. Yet it is claiming so much life, 400 million people being affected globally. And every day 4,000 people die of hepatitis. Every day globally. 4,000 people die of hepatitis condition globally. So in Nigeria, for instance, liver cancer, which is the terminal stage of hepatitis, kills over 11,000 people every year. So that every day we lose about 32 people from liver cancer, and these are things that are preventable. So that's why the day is focused on prevention of hepatitis, which will eventually lead to prevention of serious conditions like liver cancer.
Now you talked about hepatitis A, B, C, and D. Are they different from each other?
It's actually A to E.
A to E.
Yeah. They have a difference in the mode of transmission, and maybe the way they last. For instance, A and E are usually transmitted by contamination of food, or contamination of water, fecal-oral transmission. But B, C, D are usually related to blood, so maybe through sex, through blood transfusion, sharing of sharp objects, using of drugs, these injectable drugs, sharing needles, doing that.
What about sexual intercourse?
So things that are related to blood are the means through which those other by via B, C, D they are transmitted. And then for A and E, they usually cause just acute infection, and most of the time the body takes care of them.
But which ones are the deadliest ones?
B and C.
B and C.
Yeah, because after the acute phase, most people will end up going on to have chronic infection. About 75 to 80% of people will end up with chronic infection, which will lead to scarring of the liver, and of course the liver is a very important organ in the body. So when it becomes scarred, eventually it leads to cancer. So which is why it is very important for us to focus on preventing it, because liver cancer is a very deadly cancer.
So how do you protect the liver now against this the disease?
The key is to prevent infection from those the hepatitis viruses. And so we know the mode of transmission, we just mentioned them. So if we prevent them, one of the key ways of preventing hepatitis, especially hepatitis B, is through immunization, vaccine. So there's a vaccine that is available, and that is now being given at best. So children are given the first dose at best. There's usually 3 to 4 days.
What about adults that have not gotten this vaccine? Can they still?
Yes, they can have the vaccine. So these vaccines are
age limit?
No, there's no age limit. The vaccines are available, and the reason why it is important to give it at best, because you're giving to prevent because you don't want the person to be exposed already before you give the vaccine. So it is important to give it at best. But those people that don't have the opportunity, they need to catch up.
What if one is not sure that he has gotten it, maybe while one was young, and you just feel that, maybe I don't have it, or can the person still go for it?
Now the thing is that the vaccine is important. You can go for it at any age.
Okay.
But if you are not sure, if you have not had the vaccine, it is important for you to get screened for the hepatitis. You get screened, and when you get screened, if you find out that you're positive, there's treatment for.
Is it curable?
Now, yeah, for something hepatitis C, for instance, is curable now.
Okay.
Although it doesn't have vaccine, there's no vaccine for hepatitis C, but the good news is that you can cure it. So that is why it is important for you to get tested, and if you are positive, then you get treated. Hepatitis B also has treatment. So you have treatment that is available now and effective. So there's no reason why anybody should wait and end up with deadly disease like cancer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abia, for coming on Panorama. We wish we could have more time to talk on this issue, but maybe next time.
Thank you very much.
Coming on Panorama. Now we move on now. The Federal Road Safety Corps has embarked on the enforcement of safety standards for trailers and fuel tankers in Lagos area. The enforcement activities, codenamed Operation Scorpion, is being carried out as a special patrol along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Annie Daniels has details.
Leading the enforcement in Lagos area, Senior Commander, FRSC Lagos, Ifeoma Akpabio, says the strict enforcement is a follow-up to the Memorandum of Understanding recently signed between the Federal Safety Corps and stakeholders in Nigeria's haulage industry.
We have deployed all our patrol vehicles from all the commands in Lagos and Ogun State, along with the one at Oyo, for the operation.
So far, over 50 petrol tanker and trailer drivers yet to comply with the service standards have been arrested and their vehicles impounded.
They are working with the police, they are working with the civil defense, they are working with the judiciary, because they have set up mobile courts in the 3 states. So a vehicle driver apprehended for the offenses recorded are to be prosecuted.
NTA News gathered that many of the arrested drivers are unable to communicate in English language, but a few of them were able to speak with NTA News.
They don't have the spare tire, that's why people crash. Like 3 tires, no good.
Operation Scorpion Special Patrol, Akpabio says, will concentrate more on major highways such as the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The areas of focus, he says, will be on latched containers, lane violation, rickety vehicles, and driver's license. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Well, that's how far we can go today on Panorama, which came to you from Lagos Network Center. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.